You know, this whole thing is, they use the word affordability. It's a Democrat hoax. They're the ones that drove the prices up. And all they do is say, affordability, and you're supposed to say, oh, that means they had low prices. No, we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but let's say that's history. I don't believe that. Biden had, because of his stupid ways and between his energy policies and his spending policies, we had the worst inflation in the history of our country. And now our prices are coming down, and they're coming down for cars, and they're coming down. I mean, did you hear yesterday when Chris Wright from Energy, the head of energy in our country, said there are now parts of our country, it's all happening, $1.99 for gasoline, a gallon. And we have it at $2.50, $2.60. It was at $5. And that's bigger than any tax cut we could give. You know, for the average family, that's considered bigger than any tax cut. So the word affordability, when they mention it, you ever watch them? It's all about, I saw the young lady that lost last night. She lost by a lot more than they thought. And we have a great new candidate in Congress, really great, Matt Van Epps. But I saw last night, she said, it's all about affordability, all about, they never talk about like the specifics.
Right.
Everything was through the roof. Eggs, when I took over, eggs were 4 times higher than they ever were. We got the prices down to the lowest level.
Yep.
I mean, amazing. But they never, you got to watch, they're great con people. It's like the Inflation Reduction Act. And after they got it approved, because everybody said inflation reduction, they admitted it had nothing to do with reducing inflation. It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation. We had the highest prices we ever had, and now they're all coming down, including beef is coming down. Beef was up there a little bit. Our ranchers did well, but we got to make them do a little bit less well, perhaps. But the beef is now coming down. Coffee is now coming down. It's all coming down. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But remember this, when they use the word affordability, they just say, they never say anything else. This election's about affordability, and then they go on to the next subject. It's a con job. They caused the highest prices, the history of our country, the worst inflation in the history of our country, and we're getting those prices down, and they're coming down rapidly. And you'll see those results very soon. Anybody else want to say a few words? Oh, Ted, I can't believe it.
I'm easy to miss.
I didn't see. It's very rare that I would miss you. Go ahead, Ted.
Well, Mr. President, I want to congratulate you on behalf of everyone here for the leadership that you're showing. And this is a victory today for consumers. This is a victory for affordability. Your critics like to say the word affordability. Under Joe Biden and the Democrats, they put mandate after mandate after mandate on cars and trucks, and they drove the price up thousands and thousands of dollars. And with the actions you're taking today, and you put on top of that the one big beautiful bill, you know, most of the senators here on the Senate Commerce Committee, and on the Commerce Committee, we worked together to zero out the CAFE standards. We wrote that into the law that the CAFE standards went to zero. What does that mean? It means you can now, as a consumer, buy the car you want. It also means people's lives will be safer, because what these regulations did is they forced cars to be more expensive and made of plastic instead of steel. Because you had to make them lighter to comply with these standards, so you'd get in a wreck and people would die. The result of what you're doing, you're literally saving people's lives, and you're making it where families can afford to get a new car. These actions will drop the cost of cars and trucks thousands of dollars. That makes a real difference. And I'll make one final point. You know, about half the members here are car dealers. And I will say my good friend Roger Williams out in the lobby, he tried to sell me a car, which didn't surprise me, but I just want to give props to Mike Kelly. He showed he was savvier because he tried to sell you a car, and you can afford a much nicer car than I can. So well done, Mike Roger. You just went to the wrong customer.
I was $100 cheaper.
The thing that Ted just said, it's true. Plastic instead of steel. Think of that. And people died because of that. The plastic was plastic in an auto accident, and it broke up, and people were shattered because of that crazy deal. But it's a really good point. Go ahead.
And Mr. President, I'll tell you, the Senate Commerce Committee on January 14th, we're going to have a hearing with all of the big three there and Tesla, and the entire hearing is going to focus on how your leadership has reduced the burdens on car makers. That's lowering costs, that's giving consumers more choices, and it's producing more jobs in America. And it's highlighting that's a real record of success.
Yeah, well, it's an honor. And, you know, they were going by California. We had like 2 different countries, California and 15 that followed California, because you had 15 states follow California. And the rules from California were just like everything else. That's why people are leaving. That's why it's such a mess. There's a state with such unbelievable potential. But what they did with the car industry is incredible. And that was, you know, the car companies didn't know what to do because they had 2 standards, and you can't build 2 different cars for the same country. And what we're doing today is very big. Would anybody like to say something? Would you like to say something, my friend?
I just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Brian,
Mr. President, thank
Brian,
you.
and we love you, Brian.
Oh, I love you too, Mr.
Okay,
President. I've always said
he's a good man.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
appreciate that. I've always said you've tackled the three M's: mortgage, munchkins, and marriage. You've solidified all of those. I'll add motor vehicles to that now. My question, I got one about consumer confidence. We just came off one of the record high Black Friday, up 9.1%.
Record high, highest ever, biggest amount ever purchased in one day. Yeah.
Which I think counters this narrative of affordability, because apparently the Americans are spending money. So I want to see, how do you view that for a consumer confidence being so high going into Christmas and going into next year? And I do have one for the auto group after you.
Yeah, I just think that we have tremendous confidence in the country. You know, one of the things in terms of confidence, if you go back a year and a half, you know, it's amazing, we're like into 10 months already, but you go back a little bit before the election, because after November 5th, it started changing rapidly, even though we were running it until January 20th. But when you look back and you look at the enlistment of soldiers, people that wanted to join the military, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, it's like booming, it's all Space Force. But we had the worst recruitment in the history of our country. A year later, we have the greatest recruitment in the history. You can't even get in. Getting in is like getting into a top college that you couldn't get in. People want to be in the service now, and that includes the police, environment, and other things. You couldn't hire police. You couldn't hire anybody in the Army or the Navy. You couldn't get people in. And we now have gone from that to record recruitment. We're getting high quality people, amazing people, wanting to be in the military. They have spirit now, you know, call it what you want, but that's part of it. But they have great spirit now. So it's a great thing. Go ahead, ask your second question.
Okay, my second question, I've got a lot of close family friends in the automotive business, own dealerships all across Southern California. They sent me a question to ask you. There's a thing called a mileage blocker that is installed on vehicles. It's a type of a computer chip which alters the actual mileage driven on the vehicle, so that when you have a leased vehicle that's turned in, they're losing thousands of dollars. They've got to go chase down these manufacturers. What can we do to track down these manufacturers of this illegal computer chip that's really hurting the automotive industry?
Have you heard about this?
Yes, sir. They're getting built in China, and most of them are coming out of Great Britain, sir. They're being distributed through China, through distributors selling them online through Great Britain. Yes, sir.
That's not so good. What do you think?
No, look at that.
Bernie, do you know anything about that?
It works on older vehicles, and obviously, well, we got to do a better job of
Yeah,
making
I
sure
think
patrol at
it's
the border.
something, I've never heard of it. Very good.
Appreciate it.